So you've observed a performance issue with one of your people. You've taken the time to step back, think about it, word it correctly so that it is observational in nature, doesn't jump to cause, and clearly shows the line that has been crossed. You've now set up a conversation with the employee and you started off positively. What do you do next? Find out in today's video. Once I've started positive, Jane, you're an important part of the team, you've already heard me say how we go into the next one. You simply then state the performance issue the way it's worded. You state it simply and with confidence. It sounds something like, so Colleen, I'm not getting that info when I ask for it. Joe, your scrap rate is too high. Tim, you're an important part of this team, but your reports are late. Now notice it just goes right into it. It's very smooth. It's very simple. It gets to it. What you need here is confidence, and it's confidence based on a couple of things. Thing number one, remember, for it to be a performance issue, it crosses a known standard. You can walk in knowing that you've communicated this, that this is the expectation, right? You spent the time to word it appropriately, so we're not blaming you. I'm not jumping to cause. I'm simply stating, here's the performance that doesn't meet the line. Now, how do people oftentimes struggle with this? Hey, Gina, I know you're really working really hard, and I know you got a lot on your plate. And so some of these things that I'm suggesting to you, I know they're really tough to take in, but I just, your tone gets a little, what's my point? In my effort to try to avoid conflict, to couch it just so, I'm coming across as very unconfident. And that doesn't serve me or Gina right now. Right now, Gina's arguing about assignments. If she doesn't change that behavior, she's going to either run into a brick wall with me, or she's going to run into a brick wall when she goes to work for somebody else. I am helping her. So at this point, I started positive, I affirmed their value, and now I am simply stating the performance issue. The good news, if you did what I suggested to you in the last video, you spent the time to word it appropriately, you simply say it the way you wrote it. One, your documentation is incomplete. One, your documentation is not always accurate. Brent, you're complaining about the issues when they should have been brought up in the meeting. And as soon as you say that, you don't need to linger. Now you need to move to step 3. You need to understand their perspective. Now, understanding their perspective. In other words, we've got an issue. You've laid it out to them. How come? Why? Because if we have a performance issue now, almost by definition, at least at some point, they demonstrated that they could do the work. So, while I might have guesses, we both need to dig down and get to a place where we really understand the root cause of this performance gap. Because it's only as we address cause that we will be able to create a solution that means we don't wind up back here at this exact same place in another couple of weeks. So, you're going to ask some questions. You need to maintain objectivity. This is where it's very important. While you may have your guesses, I think they're too sidetracked by other work, by personal issues. They're not taking care of themselves as needed. I know they have issues at home. You may have lots of potential causes in your head, but this is where you simply put them on hold, and you're inviting them now into this two-way conversation. Use open questions. And by the way, if you don't know the distinction between open or closed questions, go ahead and Google that. It's very important that you use open questions here. You need to listen well and you're listening for the kind of cause that would show or promote the kind of unproductive behavioral results that you're seeing. You're really wanting to get them into engage in dialogue so they understand the causes there. So you may need to refocus. As they start coming up with their issues, they may start talking about, well, you know, John just doesn't give me anything that I need on time. Well, okay, yes, I understand that. And if that's the case, we need to have a conversation with John. What have you done to address the issue with John? Notice how I didn't take the excuse. I simply pushed it back and refocused you on your efficacy in this problem. Now, here are some possible questions that you can ask. By the way, the first one up there is the only one I suggest you do in some form or fashion at the very beginning. So it might be, if I start positive, Colleen, you're an important part of this team, but you're not providing the info when I ask you. So what's up with that? How come? Now I put on my listening ears. These additional questions are ones that you can use to dig a little bit deeper into the issue or problem, to help them do thinking, to help them find cause. So if they're struggling, so what's your experience doing this job might be one I'd ask if I think there's really a capability issue and I'm trying to find out how well they were trained or developed or how many times they've done this before. Sometimes the problem is that you understand the goal differently than I do. So I might ask, what's the goal as you see it? What are we really driving towards here? What's most important? I might ask you, so what makes this tough? What resources would help you do this job right if I have a suspicion that there's a resource issue here? I'm not putting any of these out as questions you must ask. These are all potential questions you might ask to understand the issue from their perspective. Now, I can't tell you, I can tell you that step 1 and step 2 are really quick. You do not need to linger over either one of those. Step 3 can go on for just a second because they come right out with the real issue and you know it to be the real issue, the real cause of the performance issue. Or, you know, it may be hard for them to talk. You may need to continue to use open questions to redirect them. It stops when you get to the point where you've heard what you believe they believe to be true, and it would be sufficient cause to produce the problem that you're seeing. Once you get to probable cause, then you move to step 4. Thanks for watching today's video, the 4th in our series on performance conversations. I welcome your comments below. Please like, please subscribe to the channel, and please tune in next week where we continue with our series on performance conversations. Until then, be well.